I have a very important interview. This is a phenomena that I don't think is extremely mainstream. Back in 2016, I interviewed a gentleman, Dr. John Hall, and back then we discussed electronic harassment. He and his girlfriend had been going through this, and it was a pretty bleak situation. Anyway, I've seen this phenomena. It seems that it's growing. And recently I came across a group called Targeted Justice. They help victims that are in electronic harassment situations. You may have heard the term targeted individual. Well, today we're going to discuss that issue with my guest. Today, my guest is Anna Toledo. She is advisory board member of Targeted Justice. She was born and raised in Puerto Rico. She is an attorney at law admitted to the Puerto Rico Supreme Court, United States District and Court of Appeals for the First Circuit. And after obtaining her BA from Columbia College in New York City, she obtained a Juris Doctor from University of Puerto Rico Law School and a Master of Environmental Law from Vermont Law School. Anna became a targeted individual over 20 years when she was pursuing her call to organize and represent environmental justice communities in Puerto Rico, where she represented thousands of clients in federal citizen suits and state complex and class action litigation. Her mission is to help fight the torture and targeting of these individuals. And if you will help me welcome Anna. How are you doing today, Anna?
Thank you, Angeline. Yes, I am very good. Thank you. I'm very happy to be here and just spread the word.
And I'm so grateful that you made time for us today. I really appreciate that. So for those that may have never heard the term targeted individual, Anna, could you first kind of define that for the audience?
Yes, targeted individual is a person that has been chosen by the deep state to form part of a human experiment that is very atrocious. Many people know about the historic MK Ultra experiments carried out by the CIA to perfect the art of mind control, and also COINTELPRO, which was carried out by the FBI against movements that were either socialist or communist, or this was in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and it's very close to my heart because in Puerto Rico, a lot of people that pursued independence were victims of COINTELPRO, and there was a huge class action lawsuit deemed the dossiers. And these people were, denied jobs. They were harassed. The same. It's the targeted individual program. It's a mixture of MK Ultra, which it's geared at mind control, and COINTELPRO, which is geared at destroying the person's position in society and opportunity to flourish.
Now, you have your own story, so this is very personal to you. Could you tell us your story and how you even came to find out that you were a targeted individual? How does that happen?
Well, see, Puerto Rico has traditionally been the land of experimentation. Since 1903, they have experimented on people there for many reasons. And it's very sad that because of our island, the nature of the island itself, it's very isolated. And not many people are bilingual. So people don't, and the news are filtered. So even though I was when I found out, which I'm going to tell you right now, I was pretty well read. I had never heard the term targeted individual. So back in 1996, I started investigating. When I came back from Vermont Law School, I started investigating environmental problems and wanting to help environmental justice communities, as you mentioned. And in the class action, the biggest thing I started doing was investigating the atrocious nuisance coming from a wastewater treatment plant that was owned by the pharmaceutical, huge Merck, Pfizer, Bristol, all the huge pharmaceuticals that were in the north area, like Arecibo, Barceloneta, those coastal areas. The stench coming out of that place when I smelled it for the first time, it's like my skin wanted to come out of my body. And I pledged I pledged to help those people because they would tell me stories like the stench comes in the middle of the night and I cannot sleep. And, their lives were really, for 30 years, they had undergone this trauma. So I did a class action that for 10 years it lasted, but that's when I got targeted. And how I know it, because when in 2021 horrible things started happening, the gang stalking was ramped up. I called a person that lived in California, and she told me, "Oh my God, you're a targeted individual." And I was like, "What's that?" Like, for 20 something years, I'd been targeted and gang stalked and everything. They even faked a cancer on me. And I went through a lumpectomy and I went through radiotherapy and I didn't have cancer. And so I said, "What's that?" She said, "Just Google it." And that's when I came across Targeted Justice. And I wrote to Targeted Justice. And because I was an attorney, Mr. Richard Lighthouse, who is one of the directors, he had been desperately looking for an attorney to file a lawsuit to bring down this program. And Targeted Justice rescued me from Puerto Rico, airlifted me, and brought me to Houston to file this case.
You brought up a lot of points there. First of all, back when I interviewed John Hall, back then he kind of really didn't know who was behind it. I remember him bringing up they had discovered that some people that were part of the local area police department were involved. And then also when I was looking into it, I found on these, back then it was like a board, a blog where people were talking in a forum that were targeted. And one thing I noticed that was in common is they all found out that these attacks were coming from like detectives, like of the investigative services